What is going on, YouTube people? Neo Cards and Comics here. NBA trade deadline has come and gone, and I just wanted to have a little chit chat about its impact on the NBA market, some card prices, where they could go, all that kind of stuff. And what a deadline it was. The KD bomb happened. I had just gone to sleep. I woke up in the morning, looked at my notifications, and saw like 20 minutes after I went to sleep that all went down, and I missed it, and I was mad. I love this time of year. I've talked about it a ton. There's nothing better than NBA Twitter during transaction season. It's just an absolute blast. So I thought it would be fun just to kind of run down a few things and we're going to take this strictly from I shouldn't say strictly, but we're going to take this more from the card market perspective than the NBA perspective, though they do kind of go hand in hand. The biggest impact, obviously, is the Phoenix Suns. We'll talk about them in a second from just an overall team perspective. That's, obviously they got KD. But we'll dig more into that in a minute. I was expecting a lot went down, and like one of the top 15 best players of all time gets traded. That's like a massive deadline. The part that surprised me was the Raptors not doing anything. I mean, they got Jacob Puddle. They brought him back, Podal, whatever. And that's fine. But like, I expected them to be sending players out left and right, and that just kind of never happened, which I thought was interesting. And then there was the big Westbrook deal with D'Angelo Russell going back to the Lakers, and then a boatload of minor deals. The biggest winner from a card perspective, and it is honestly, it's not even close, is Cam Thomas of the Brooklyn Nets. I have major regrets on this guy. I talked about him briefly way back, like during that NBA draft class. I remember mentioning him in a video saying, I really like this guy, and I just never acted on it. He always scored a ton of points anytime he got the ball, and people always talked him up. People really liked him. I never bought anything. And I'm having flashbacks to KPJ, Kevin Porter Jr., for anyone that's been around for a while. He was a guy I was one of those things. You just trust your gut and go with it and actually act on it. That's the hard part. I loved KPJ. I liked what I saw out of him watching him with the Cavs. And I bought a ton of his stuff, just raw, cheap stuff. And then his prices went crazy during the boom. And I made a killing on his stuff. And this, to me, is very reminiscent of that. Cameron Thomas. Someone was like free a week ago. And his stuff was going for a ton of money. And there was a weird part there where Kyrie got traded. KD hadn't been traded yet. And a lot of people were like, oh, well, this isn't going to hold once KD comes back and Dinwiddie and, all this other stuff goes down. He's never going to get that many shots. And they were right. Well, then fast forward 48 hours and then KD's traded. And now Cameron Thomas can get all the shots that he wants. I assume he's going to start still with Dinwiddie, or maybe Dinwiddie comes off the bench. I don't know how their rotation's going to sort out because they got 14 players that all play 3-and-D wings. So that'll be interesting to see. But he's going to be their primary scorer. And with KD gone, that just clears that up. And his numbers are comical. And I'm not, you missed the boat. I'm not saying run out and buy Cam Johnson now. His stuff's already taken way off. But this is, if you get a feeling on these guys, just trust your gut, especially when they're this cheap. His Prism Silver, what did I run this? 14 days? 14 days. His Prism Silver 2 weeks ago was going for $1. Going for $1 raw. Today, $25. A 2,558% increase. His Optic Hollow, same thing, was going for $1 raw, now going for about $24. His Rookie Ticket Contenders Auto was $15 2 weeks ago. It is now $70. And I wouldn't be surprised if his stuff kept creeping up a little bit, especially if he keeps going off on the scoring department, which he is completely capable of. So Cameron Thomas, by far and away, is the biggest winner. There is someone out there that is a Cam Thomas super collector that was gobbling this stuff up dirt cheap, that is printing money this week. Printing money this week. And this is the classic case. Listen, If you do have a bunch of his stuff laying around and you're into it for nothing, you should be selling at least some of it right now. This is the time where you sit down with your box of Cam Thomas stuff, start flipping through and figuring out which ones are really rare that maybe you really want to hold on to. And then the more common stuff, just start moving it. I might not even get cute with trying to grade it if you think it's gradable. Because maybe these prices don't hold. That's the great unknown. We don't know. But in my opinion, from a card perspective, he's the biggest winner by far. You ripped a lot of 2021 NBA wax. Now's the time to go start digging through those boxes to see if you have any of his stuff laying around. Always really liked the player. Never acted on it. Kicking myself today. I've already thought about ways to set some rules up in place going forward about this for future to not have this happen again. Because I hated that this happened because, like I said, I really like this guy, but I just never bought any of his stuff. Mistakes were made. Next, let's just talk about the Suns, generally speaking. Prices really haven't moved on this. I just kind of have this up there for something to look at while I chat. KD is a weird one, man. He does not get a lot of... Don't get me wrong, his stuff's not cheap. It's expensive. But generally speaking, he does not get as much hobby love as his play and his stature as an NBA player dictate, and his talent. We'll see if that changes with Phoenix. Phoenix, I don't know how to handle Phoenix. They are legit good on paper. Paul, Booker, TJ Warren, Durant, and Ayton is legitimately good. That's probably the best starting five in the West, or it's right there with the Nuggets. The only problem that I see is they are paper thin. Paper thin. I don't even know who's on their bench anymore. They really gutted that team. And that's a win now move. So it's not like, you got a bunch of moves you can make now that the trade deadline's passed. I have to imagine they're going to be active in the buyout market. As at time of recording, I saw Will Barton just got bought out. I would have to imagine they're going to be super active in the buyout market trying to go after those guys. Because they need depth. They have none. Like literally none. Their starting five is going to be insane. Absolutely insane. You have Booker, probably the best shooting guard in the league. KD, probably the best straight out scorer in the league, period, full stop, regardless of position. Ayton's a perfectly fine center. TJ Warren's actually played pretty well this year. CP3 is on the decline, but you put those guys around him, he just needs to be floor general. He never needs to shoot the ball at all. So they are going to be a force if they can stay healthy. Right now, they're not even healthy. Booker's still out, I believe, and KD's not back till after the All-Star break. So be interested to see how far they could get up in the standings. There could be some real dicey, depending on where they end up in the standings, as good as they are. Some team's going to get screwed with a really bad matchup in the first round, unless they end up really catching fire the back half of this season. So KD stuff potentially has a chance to go on a run. At time of recording, his last PSA 10 base Chrome did 1,000. There's actually one running at auction tonight prior to me recording this. There's actually two of them ending. I will be interested to kind of see where that moves to. Generally speaking, his stuff's been trending down all year, even though he's had a great season. And now he's out of Brooklyn and on Phoenix. We'll see what happens. The other part of this equation is Devin Booker. His stuff as well has come down a decent amount. This is over the last 180 days, so going back to summer, so the preseason. His PSA 10 is down 30%, base Prism, and his Silver Prism is down 10%. I put the base Prism on here. It's pretty low pop. There's only 1,800 of them in a PSA 10. Remember, this is older Prism, so that's a very reasonable price for something around that pop, in my opinion. And we'll see if he can get healthy and get back rolling and what they could do. His stuff seems pretty cheap. That's his Silver PSA 9, by the way. I didn't pull 10 because like one is sold in the last 2 months. There's not a lot of them, so they don't transact often. His stuff could see a spike if they go on a deep playoff run. They are poised now. I really do think it's them and the Nuggets in the Western Conference, with some teams, flirting around on the fringe. The Clippers got a lot better they brought in a bunch of role players today, which is kind of exactly what that team needs. it's just hard to get a vibe check on them with as much as George and Kawhi sit out games. And no one cares about either one of their cards. Even if they made a deep playoff run, I don't know if they would get a spike or not. But you never hear anyone talk about Kawhi Leonard cards. And Paul George does not have good rookies to even chase after. If you ever go look at his rookies, they're terrible. They're that really ugly year, and there's not a lot of options out there. But Leonard, no one. I never hear people talk about Leonard. I can't tell you the last time I looked at a Leonard card or ran a chart on one. And maybe that's a mistake. Maybe they make a deep playoff run. Hell, they could win the NBA title. Their team is really good. It's just hard to wrap your mind around them because they're always resting people. In the East, to me, it's still the Celtics. It's still the Sixers as probably the two best teams in the Eastern Conference. I put them ahead of the Bucks. The Bucks have just kind of been all over the place this year. They're really good, but they've just been like cursed with never being able to actually have their whole roster together. Celtics Sixers could be a war. I put my Cleveland Cavaliers clearly fourth now, with the Nets kind of tearing things down. And Nets aren't going to go away. They're still probably going to be a playoff team. They have a lot of good players on that roster. They just don't have a star. But that team is still going to be legitimately good. I shouldn't say legitimately good. You're just not going to want to mess with them. They're probably going to be a pain in the butt. You got Cam Thomas, Dinwiddie, Mikal Bridges, Nick Claxton, and then probably DFS at the 4, and then a bunch of 3-and-D wings coming off the bench. They're not going to be fun to play against. So they're going to be feisty. I don't think they're a top 4 anymore, and this kind of clears with the Nets falling out. I think this clears the path for the Cavs as a 4 seed with the Heat probably sliding into the 5th, and then it's kind of a mess. But that's kind of where things sit. That's how I see it. The only other one, and I don't know, because I don't know what type of playing time he's going to get. I've never really been a huge fan. If Cam Reddish actually gets some playing time, maybe his stuff spikes. I don't see it going all Cam Thomas on us. But his Silver Prism base is $1. There's worse gambles you can make for buying 5 of them and seeing what happens. I own none of them. I'm not planning to go buy any of them. So that's my general take on it. But if you have his stuff laying around, maybe dig it out and at least keep an eye on it. Like I said, I don't know if he's going to get playing time with the Trailblazers or not. I would think that he would, just because they moved off Josh Hart. And I saw that they traded Gary Payton II today. So that should free up some minutes, I think. I'm not super familiar with their rotation off the top of my head. But I would think he gets playing time now. We'll see what happens with that. But, if he can come out and actually play well, he has a little cult following. His stuff could spike up a little bit. His silver PSA 10 is $35. His PSA 9 is $12, and raw is $3.50 at time of recording. It actually looks like I got a little bit of a bump up already post trade. So see what happens there. That's all I got for you guys and girls today. We will catch you. No video on Saturday. We will catch you Sunday for the weekly sports card market update. Peace.